This is the Conservative American Message, hosted by the one and only Cam Lau. It is Monday, the 1st of April, 2024, and you're listening to the 67th episode of this podcast. The following quote is attributed to Patrick Henry. This great nation was founded not by religionists, but by Christians, not on religions, but on the gospel of Jesus Christ. The Conservative American Message store is up and running, guys, so please check it out. We have t-shirts for sale right now, and more merch dropping very soon. Don't forget that if you order from our store before April 7th, you will be entered to win a $5 gift card for all future merch. That's this Sunday, April 7th, and I'll announce the winner in next week's episode. On Tuesday this week, the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore collapsed after being hit by a cargo ship. The ship, owned by a company in Singapore, struck the bridge after losing power and issuing a mayday call. The bridge is 1.6 miles long and is part of Major Interstate 695. This ship was traveling at 8 knots, or 9 miles per hour. 6 construction workers filling potholes on the bridge are presumed dead at this point in time. The debris from the bridge also blocked other ships from continuing on their way through the Chesapeake Bay region during the cleanup and into the Baltimore harbor. It took 5 years to build this bridge and cost hundreds of millions. Joe Biden immediately responded to the event by promising that the federal government is going to pay to repair the bridge. Now hold up. Why do taxpayers across the country have to pay for this? Doesn't the responsibility fall on the companies whose boat hit the bridge? That's how this normally works. It makes no logical sense for the government to pay for it. Biden is acting like there even needs to be an immediate response to this from the government. Regardless of how much money gets thrown at this bridge, it's going to take a couple years to rebuild at least. There have been a lot of theories being thrown around about how and why this happened. Was it a secret government plot, terrorism, Mitch McConnell? And although at this time it feels like this is truly just a devastating accident, I have been wrong before. This could easily have been a planned attack on American infrastructure, but still that seems really unlikely. As important as the Francis Scott Key Bridge is, there are far more vulnerable and essential places that could have been targeted for something like this. One thing is for sure, Biden is really good at spending other people's money. The Democrat Party raised record amounts of campaign funds at a recent fundraiser in New York City. The single event reportedly raised over $26 million. There was a gaggle of celebrities there and 3 presidents. Arguably the worst 3 presidents in American history, certainly in the top 5. Clinton, Obama, and Biden were all there as the night's big-name attendees. You could even get a photo with all 3 presidents for the small price of $500,000. But just to even attend this event, tickets started at $250. Lots of questions were raised to the presidential panel. Bill Clinton in particular was asked about the economy, and he had the audacity not only to blame COVID, but even to say that Americans are still seeing the effects of the 2008 recession. Dude, the stock market recovered before 2010 from 2008. This is not 2008. It might be some of the COVID policies that these Democrats have enacted, but it's mostly just plain old-fashioned stupid policy from President Joe. They went on to brag about how the 5,000 people who came to the mega event exhibited the unity of Democrats. I have been to Trump rallies with tens of thousands of people. The media always reports that Trump is exaggerating about his rallies, but I've seen them firsthand. You have to wait for 10 hours in line just to get in. It's really not impressive to gather a bunch of wealthy celebrities who already contribute millions to the Democratic Party and then pat yourselves on the back for having such a successful fundraiser. More concerning for Democrats should be the hundreds of pro-Palestine protesters outside the event that seem to follow Biden everywhere he goes. The increasingly progressive young Democrats will not be voting for Biden. They've watched the country get worse under his leadership, and he's done so without even appeasing their social policy demands. Trump may not appear to be a unifying figure in the GOP, but really, he's united the people at a grassroots level. The establishment hates him, but the people love him. If you've been listening to this podcast for any amount of time, you've discovered by now that this is not your typical political show. I don't come on here to report the news. I'm only here once a week. I don't merely report facts to you from a conservative perspective. I'm just not interested in doing that. There's plenty of conservative news out there. For the news, I personally recommend the Daily Wire. They obviously don't sponsor me in any way. That's just my personal preference. But my show is more about commentary. I want to look at specific current events and dig into the root issue about how we should actually feel about it. Not every story about illegal immigration or abortion or LGBT should be an opportunity to spew out the typical talking points from the right. I want to be more discerning, not only from an American conservative perspective, but also from a Christian worldview. All this show is essentially just my opinions, definitely not the news. It's politics, religion, or whatever else I want. Yesterday was the most important holiday of the year, Transgender Day of Visibility. No, yesterday was Easter, the day that our Savior Jesus Christ conquered death, but Biden was celebrating transgenders instead. Apparently, this fake transgender holiday has existed for years, but has always been on March 31st. Conveniently, nobody had ever heard of it until this year. Easter being on the Sunday after a full moon after the spring equinox, it changes dates yearly. And this year it just so happened that this transgender day landed on the same day, March 31st, yesterday. So of course, Biden took this opportunity to highlight transgenderism in a complete mockery of Jesus' sacrifice and resurrection. They claim it's all a coincidence, but we know that this would never occur on like a Muslim holiday. That would be insanely offensive to Muslims. But guess what? I'm offended. I take offense to the idea of a transgender day of visibility in the first place. But to promote this garbage, this absolute garbage, on the most holy holiday that there is just plain insulting. Don't these sexual freaks get enough holidays? Every other week, some nonsensical celebration is arranged for a bunch of losers who are just into weird sex stuff. Weird sex stuff should not be something to celebrate. The government has no business regarding what you do in your own bedroom, but neither do the rest of us. Keep it to yourself. Christians get a bad rap for being so anti-gay and anti-trans and whatever, and that's exactly why this announcement was intentionally made on Easter to mock us. Now, as a Christian, I certainly am anti-gay and anti-trans. I think it's all disgusting and wrong. But if you want to privately do whatever it is you do, go do that. But keep it to yourself. You don't need a parade. Can you imagine if we had to have a celebration for a month for people just being heterosexual? It's so stupid. Am I somewhat conflating transgenders and gays here? Yes. But it's all the same, guys. It's all just stems from this sexual perversion and ultimately sin. I don't really care about the specifics and the labels. Transgender Day of Visibility is nothing more than an attempt to discourage Christianity in this country. Well, that's all I have time for. Were you offended by this podcast? Good. Thanks for listening, guys. I really appreciate you all. Have a great week and stay conservative.